Taylor Swift is coming to Toronto for a fortnight for the Eras Tour. Fans will need to calm down and walk along the honorary Taylor Swift way to have their photos taken with the Toronto signs 7 letters lit red in her honor.
Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. My name's David. In today's top stories, we've got the rise of illness in Canada coming from some number 2s. We've been talking about the number 2s for quite some time now. The poopy pants. Well, it's not in the pants. It's in the streets. It's at the gas stations. It's in the beaches. It's in public. In Canada, we're seeing a rise of dysentery and norovirus from too many people pooping in public. I just got up out of my chair because I smell burning, and there's people living down in the ditch right now, and they're burning fires, and if their fires get out of control, then this house I live in will burn down. Isn't that interesting? I can't blame people for wanting to sleep in the bush, but then it's putting everyone at risk here. Anyways, let's get back to the stories, because it smells like campfire in here right now. So we've got this human feces are fueling spread of rare illness in Canada. So we've got a rise of dysentery here. Alberta health officials have announced that outbreaks of gastrointestinal illness have been ravaging Edmonton and Calgary. Just challenges with meeting basic hygiene. Fecal-oral transmission is one way in which the bacteria can spread, making it easy for the disease to spread among those who live in unsanitary conditions. To date, 65 individuals have tested positive in Calgary with the potentially fatal condition that causes diarrhea, cramping, vomiting, and dehydration. 16 of these individuals required hospitalization. With that, we've got this guy here dropping a hot one right on the side of the street. This is disgusting. This is in Niagara Falls. This was filmed on July 30th. You can see he's having a laugh there. He's having a good time. That's a disgusting time. We need some rules that if people come to our country and they do that, they get kicked out. If you're Canadian and you do that, then you go to jail. With that, we have the rise of norovirus as well in Canada.
Norovirus cases are on the rise here in Ontario.
The Public Health Agency of Canada says the highly contagious virus is spreading at a higher frequency than expected. It can cause nausea, vomiting, abdominal pains, cramps, and diarrhea. Cpac acknowledged the recent 5-year average included several years with pandemic restrictions, which lowered the rates of norovirus. So this year's uptick isn't too far from the normal before COVID.
It says here norovirus is transmitted through the contaminated surfaces and close contact with infected people, but also has a hardiness that makes the virus highly contagious. It's difficult to eliminate the virus from surfaces because alcohol-based hand gel is not effective in killing norovirus, making hand washing the best defense. After contracting the illness, it can take 12 to 48 hours to develop symptoms, which are usually at their worst in the first 48 to 72 hours. Things are getting unsanitary in Canada, and now we're getting the rise of these uncommon, unseen diseases here. With that said, we've got an update here from this lady who posted about the Wasaga Beach and people pooping in the sand. Well, it turns out the cops came to harass her about this instead of just going to the beach and doing their job.
The people pooping on the beach, like that's what they do back home. We are not back home. We are in Canada.
It was a big shock to me to open my door to see the officer asking me to come out and then stepping in and having a whole conversation about what I'm posting on social media, which is harming nobody. I want people to know because it is a biohazard. It's the safety and well-being of the kids and the visitors that want to go use the beach.
I've had to yell at people for on the borderline property line of my backyard. They're digging holes and they're pooping and putting tents up because they don't want to go to the washroom.
Somebody called in about somebody posting things on TikTok about defecating on.
Yeah, so that's where it cuts off there. Yeah, the cop just came there to harass her a bit. Someone needs to tell that woman that she's under no obligation to speak to those officers or allow them into her home. Next up, we've got this article here. It says 500,000 foreigners illegally living in Canada. So yeah, it turns out there's the numbers could suggest, estimates here suggest population that could be as high as 500,000 persons. To simply address the problem, the Liberal immigration minister suggested earlier this year that the solution might be to simply give in and regularize their status. Canada's immigration policies have come under intense scrutiny in recent years and have risen to the top of the public's radar. Recent public opinion polls show that the majority of Canadians care more about immigration than they do about climate change. On a podcast in March, Mark Miller said Canada needs mass immigration to address labor market gaps. There's no doubt we have made a conscious decision to be an open country and a country that needs to grow. The reality is we don't have much of a choice. They've done it to us, and they're openly admitting it. But Miller announced a temporary cap on new international student permits at the beginning of the year, which have run rampant in recent years from 219,000 in 2015, 219,000 up to 682,000 in 2023. So they're dropping that number back down to 364,000, which is still up over 150,000 more than when Harper was in power. So we got this clip here, which is absolutely crazy. They're voting to name a street in Toronto after Taylor Swift. Why? Why? I recently saw a video of Taylor Swift's jet that flies around and burns a whole ton of carbon, and she always ended up in Pennsylvania. So I assume that was her hometown. I just Googled it. It says she's from West Reading, Pennsylvania. She's not from Toronto. Why would... Why?
Firstly, I want to say welcome to Tayloronto. And it's been a long time coming, and we are ready for it. As we know all too well, Taylor Swift is coming to Toronto for a fortnight for the Eras Tour. Swifties will shake it off at 6 concerts this November, and it is an opportunity for Toronto to show off our great reputation and our place in this world. After Taylor Swift makes sparks fly and the whole place shimmer at the Rogers Centre in a concert that Swifties will remember forever and always, fans will need to calm down and walk along the honorary Taylor Swift Way to have their photos taken with the Toronto sign's 7 letters lit red in her honor. It's our way to show Taylor she's the one we've been waiting for, that she has brought us much happiness, and that we will love her evermore. And the motion also asks the general manager to report back on the Swiftonomics of the event, including the tax revenues that are generated to the municipal, provincial, and federal governments. I have a shirt to welcome her to Toronto as well that says welcome to Toronto A. And I'm hoping she'll be inspired and wear this during the song 22, because she always changes the logo on her shirt.
This is ridiculous. Unless she shows up and like donates $300 million to help the Canadian poverty, why would we be naming a Canadian street after an American who doesn't have any ties to Canada?
Firstly, I want to...
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, why not just name one after Bob Marley? Bob Marley Street? Elvis Street? What? Pick somebody. We don't have to stop at music artists. Why not Steve Irwin Street? Genghis Kong Street? This is so stupid. It says the motion passed by a vote of 21-1. The first comment here says, I know absolutely nothing about this Swift person. Is she from Toronto? Is she even Canadian? If not, this is ridiculously stupid. Didn't we just have flooded streets? Surely there's more important work to be done. This guy posted the prices for a Taylor Swift ticket. $1,600, $1,900 to go see her sing some songs? This is crazy. Who has the money for this? This is just nuts. Next up, we got this clip of Chrystia Freeland. She was asked a question about immigration, and it just sums up the situation.
Canadian press show your government was warned that housing construction had not kept up with population growth, largely because of Canada's immigration targets. Why did your government not heed that warning and lower immigration levels?
That is the $1 million question right there.
Thank you for the question, Simon. And let me say this. As a country, Canada is probably the country in the world which is the most welcoming of new Canadians, which is the most welcoming of immigrants. And as finance minister, I have to say that is a huge economic strength. It is a real driver of our country's economic growth. And at a time when all of the industrialized countries in the world are facing huge demographic challenges, we are extremely fortunate as a country that we have the social capacity to welcome immigrants.
We don't, though. We don't have the doctors. We don't have the schools, the teachers, the houses. We don't have the social capacity to bring these people in. And not only that, they're bringing in people who don't contribute that much to our economy. We used to bring in all the brightest and smartest people, and now they're bringing in all the crime lords and the car thieves.
You are quite right that if we want to be a country that welcomes new Canadians, and I strongly believe that's the right thing for all of us, we have to build more homes faster. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. Our government is totally committed to getting more homes built for Canadians. You have seen that unrelenting focus.
Oh, yeah.
For
unrelenting, that once the problem is just completely out of control, now it's time to build some homes. Whoa, no, we're not going to have any planning. We're just going to bring in all these people and then decide to build new homes.
Weeks and weeks and weeks for months and months and months.
The identical is happening in Australia. This is a willful and premeditated plan. Seems like it. We got this clip here of RFK Jr. Discussing Trudeau's response to the Freedom Convoy.
The truckers were doing something that all of us in our country take for granted. They were assembling to petition their government about something that they thought was important, which was that the impacts, the financial impacts of the mandates on their businesses. If you look at the videos of that event, it was like Woodstock. People were giving out water bottles, they were picking up trash, they were playing music, they were being kind to each other. But it was portrayed by the Canadian government as a right-wing, extremist, violent terror organization. And the government began using facial recognition systems and other forms of surveillance to learn the identity of the truckers, looking at their license plates, etc. And then it froze their bank accounts. And it froze their $12 million PayPal account. And when Canada did that, it occurred that the premier template of democracy in the world besides the United States, it occurred to me immediately that transactional freedom was as important as freedom of expression in the First Amendment. Because if the government has the capacity, none of these truckers were charged with a crime, much less convicted. And yet the government was able to shut down their bank accounts. They couldn't pay their mortgages. They couldn't buy diesel for their trucks. They couldn't buy food for their children. One trucker told me that he was going to jail because he couldn't make mandatory alimony payments. And if a government is able to starve you, to evict you from your home, if you speak out against it, if you criticize government policies, then we are on the road to totalitarianism and slavery. And I began at that time looking seriously for alternatives, and it was that incident that led me immediately to grasp the potential of this technology to provide transactional freedom and self-sovereignty.
Yeah, what Trudeau did during the Freedom Convoy is one of the worst things ever happened in this country's history. The whole locking of bank accounts thing, I don't get it. Why is he not in jail for that? I mean, it legitimately ruined people's lives. This country is broken, beyond broken. This comment says here, people really underestimate the effect of the crackdown on the Freedom Convoy had on our reputation on the world stage. Yeah, Canada became the dictator nation where the prime minister just locked people's bank accounts because he's a poopy pants loser. That's basically, it's like it kind of dropped us down to a level like Venezuela, where you just got a tyrant running the country. So next up, we got this clip here. It says the Ford government is buying police helicopters to combat impaired driving, $134 million, while also increasing access to alcohol across Ontario, $225 million, expanding sales to corner stores, gas stations. A year early, I asked the premier about his alcohol everywhere policy.
And now these helicopters will also be used to catch impaired drivers. We know in the past 2 weeks, 2 people in Ontario have been killed by alleged drunk drivers. I had a chance to ask Premier Doug Ford about his plans to expand alcohol sales across Ontario, including putting alcohol in gas stations, and if that would worsen the problem. Take a listen. impaired driving numbers are trending upwards in the province and have been for years. Premier, will your government's alcohol everywhere policy exacerbate that problem?
No, I don't think so. You got to be responsible, right? You can go into the liquor store right now. You can go to a local food lane up north. You have to be responsible. People know you don't drink and drive.
Jumping over to my group, let's see what memes we've got. Due to toilet paper shortage, please use the litter box until further notice. Please bury it. Jagmeet and Trudeau's new doo-doo bag dispenser cost you 25 cents per bag. So someone posting this here, Jasper, purple is lithium, blue is diamonds. I'm not getting into this. Now you know why they let it burn. I don't know. Like, he's wearing like a Christmas hat. He's got some weird blonde beard. Like he's some merman. Like, what is this thing? Papa Smurf? I don't get what they're supposed to be. What is he? Canadians should not have to leave Canada unless they choose. Trudeau is the one that needs to leave, and his cronies. Yeah, he needs to leave and just take all of his den of thieves with him. Get out of our country. That's where we're going to wrap up this episode. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you guys worried about these diseases now spreading across Canada with just unsanitary conditions? We've got people pooping in public in random places, norovirus, dysentery, just new problems in Canada. Canada is a very clean, sanitary country. At least it was, and it's going downhill now. So does that worry you guys? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching the video here. Be sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up. I greatly appreciate everyone who's channel members, donating, all that good stuff. We're going to keep fighting for freedom. I'll see you guys in the next one.